What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Tochuku. Today we'll be creating an apple catch game whereby we'll use the bow to catch the apple. Alright? Now, this game is going to have a little bit of a start screen and also a game over. So let's start. When I click my flag, the apple starts bouncing, kind of rising and falling. Now, when I click the play button, it starts falling, and I'll use my bow to catch the apples as they are falling. As I'm catching the apple, the speed with which the apple falls starts to increase with every catch I made. So that's an interesting game, and at some point when I'm unable to catch this, I'll have a game over screen showing and I can choose to replay and start all over again. So that's it. Let's dive right into it. Okay, how we'll go about this is getting all the sprites we need ready. We don't need the cat sprite, so we'll straight up delete it. And we are going to choose a backdrop for this. So I'm going to choose the boardwalk backdrop. Boardwalk is over here. You can choose any backdrop of your choice. So we'll have our backdrop. Then I'm going to choose the sprites we need. We'll be needing a bow. We'll be needing an apple. We'll be needing to create our title, which says the title of the game. So what we're going to do is to paint a new sprite. Go to paint. We choose to write what we want our title to be by clicking on the text. So inside here we'll type, but I would like to use the pixel font. So I'll just choose pixel and then I'll type apple catch game. As simple as this. Let's just make it look much more better. Increase a little bit, try to position to the center. So we'll reduce it to fit in perfectly the way we want. Okay, I think this is good. Then let's try to change the color. So I'm going to use the gradient from left to right. Let's make this slightly reddish and make the second one a little bit kind of blue. Let's use up and down. Yeah, I think this will do. So for the first one, let's make it more red. Yeah, this will do. And that's it for our title. We have our apple catch game. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is our start button, which is when we click the game starts. It's going to serve as our play button. So I'll add to paint a new sprite. I'll choose rectangle, and I want it to have an outline of black, and I'm going to increase this to about 5 or so, and then I want it to have the fill color of white. Okay, let's see how that goes. Okay, maybe I will need to increase my outline to, okay, let's work with 10. So I'm going to reduce this in size a little bit. Then inside this, I'm going to have another rectangle that is going to be red fill. Well, I shouldn't have selected this particular one. So I'm going to have another one that I want to have red fill, then outline will be none, so reduce this to 0. So I'm going to have this, something of this nature. Fit it into this, then resize. I would want to be able to see the white shade. So this is good. All right, then lastly, I'll write inside the red text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write with white. So change this to white. Then still in pixel, I can write play. Let's adjust this. Then let's try to draw a play button, which is going to be white. So choose white. Increase this to 2. Make it a triangle. All right, let's increase a little bit. Click the select button. Select this. Increase. So this will do. Drag this down a little bit. All right, so I will group this together. And to do that, I'll select the first one, hold down Shift key, select the red, select the play text, select the play icon, then click on group. Then I can shrink to whatever size I want. Bring this down somewhere here. Take this a little bit up. Then let's shrink this a little bit down, a little bit more. Okay, so that's what we need. So we have our title and we have our play. We can choose to give this a sprite name of title, and give this our start. We would also have our replay. To have our replay, I'm going to duplicate this my start, duplicate, have it to, I'm going to name this replay. And instead of having the text play, I'm going to change this to replay. And I will be needing to shrink this text down a little bit. Okay, I think this will do. All right, that's for our replay. And lastly, we'll have our game over. So paint, I'll have a black screen. So make this black. Cover the entire area with black. Ensure it covers everything well. Good. Then I'll have my text, which is going to be with white. This should be white. Yeah. And I'm going to write game over. Then let's increase the size of this. All right, let's group these two together. Hold this, hold shift, select the second one and group together so that it becomes one entity. And that's basically all the sprites we'll be needing. So we'll be starting with how the game is going to be. Let's hide this game over for now. Okay, give it the name. Let's give it the name game over. Let's hide it so that it doesn't prevent all this. We don't need the replay for now. Let's also hide that for now. Okay, so this is how we want our game to look. So I'm going to reduce the size of my output to 50%. That will be better. Good, this is much more better. All right, so let's start coding the game. Now to start this, we want, when we click on the play button for our game to start. So we'll select the play, which is our start sprite. What do? We want this to start the game when the sprite is clicked. So we are going to choose when this sprite is clicked. So when this sprite is clicked, we want to send a message. We want to broadcast a message that says start the game. And when the game starts, we are going to gradually hide this button using ghost effect. So let's do that. So the first thing we do is to broadcast a message. And this message is going to be, let's create a new message. We're going to say start game. Okay. So when we click on it, it broadcasts a message that says start game. And when the game starts, we want to gradually hide this. So we're going to do this by using control, repeat 10 times, go to looks. Then we're going to do change color effect by 25. We're going to change this from color to ghost. And we're going to do this 10 so that as this is repeating 10 times, it's reducing by 10 at the end of the day. When the repeat is all done, these have ghosted. So at the end, we are now going to do hide. We have a hide down here, and that's what this does. So let's see, if I click on this, it gradually disappears. All right, but then we want, whenever we click, for everything to come back. So in order to do that, we're going to go to events and drag when flag is clicked. And when this flag is clicked, we want to do some things. We want to clear the graphics and some other things. So we are going to do clear graphics effect. And lastly, we want to show this. So what happens when I click on play, it hides. When I start the game afresh by clicking on the green flag, it appears again. So whenever you load and you click your green flag, everything shows, our play button shows. And when we click on it, it sends or it broadcasts a message that will start the game and then disappears itself. Okay, now once this is done, let's write the code for our bow. So we are going to make the bow move left and right using the arrow keys. By clicking the left arrow, it moves the bow towards the left. Clicking the right arrow moves the bow towards the right. Good. So, but this is only going to be effective when we've broadcast this message. So, in our bow, we are going to do when I receive start game. That's when we want to start doing some things. So, when I receive start game, we want to start making our bow to be able to move. So in order to do that, we are going to constantly check if this arrow is pressed. So we are going to go to control, drag our forever. Inside our forever, we are going to have a condition that is going to continually check. So we are going to use if then inside our forever. We are going to sense, go to sensing, drag, key space pressed. Put it inside the diamond shape of the if then. Change the space to left arrow. Let's start with the left arrow. And then for the left arrow, we are going to change X by 10. Go to motion, drag, change X by 10, but since it is towards the left, it's going to be negative 10. So let's see this, let's see this. So click on this, click on start. Left arrow, it moves the bow towards the left. That's good. Now let's stop this. We're going to do the same thing for the right. So I'm going to duplicate the if block. Duplicate, place it down here, change the left to right, and then from negative 10 to positive 10. And as such, stop, start again, play, right moves towards the right, left moves towards the left. And that's it. We are done with the code for our bow. We can now move it towards left and right. That's awesome. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to code the apple. So over to the apple. Okay, so to code our apple, we are going to work with some variables. So we'll be needing our score, and also to make the game more fun, we'll also be needing to increase speed. So we're going to also create a variable called speed. So straight up, let's go to variable. Let's make a variable with the name score. Click OK. And then let's create one more variable called speed. Okay, so for the apple, we are going to start the game. When flag is clicked, we need to set some things in place. So we are going to go to events, drag when flag is clicked. Then we are going to go to variable, set the score to 0. So I'm going to do this, set score to 0, duplicate this because I need to set both my score and my speed to 0. That's the first thing we'll do for the apple. Then we are going to drag our apple to a certain position. Here it is, currently is not bad. So which is for our x minus 13 and for our y 120. So I'm going to go to motion and drag the go to block. Go to x and y. So our x is minus 13 and our y is 120. We want it to stay up here whenever the game starts. Then we are going to create an animation that is going to make the apple keep on bouncing once the green flag is clicked. So when the green flag is clicked. So what we're going to do is go to control, drag forever, place it under this, then still in control, drag repeat 10 times. Then we are going to create a motion, change y by 10. Then this is going to be very small displacement, so we are going to use 0.5. So once I click on the green flag, you see my apple is going up, not just up, we want it to also come down. So I'm going to duplicate this and place it under this, the repeat, and make this minus so that once the movement is 0.5, forever is going to be doing the two of them, which is going to keep it in oscillatory motion up and down. So that's basically what we want. This is what we want, up and down. Good. Then once the start button is clicked, we want to start the game. And to do that, we are going to use the event when I receive the start game. When I receive the start game, the first thing I'm going to do is to make the apple go to a random position. So I will go to motion and drag, go to random position, then set the y value to 180 so that it goes up, not just so close. So I'm going to do set y. Currently should be around 123, but we want it to be 180. All right, let's test this out. Click on start, it keeps on oscillating. Click on this, it goes up. Okay, that's good. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is to also ensure that our speed and our score is 0 when the game is starting. So I'm going to do this set score and the set speed again. So go to variable, drag, set my variable, place this here, change this to score, duplicate, change this to speed, set the two of them to 0. Now the next thing we are going to do is to go to control and drag forever. And what I'm going to do here is to change the value of my y. That's to make the apple start falling by default. So change my y by, let's use half of 10 minus 5 so that it keeps on falling. Now with this, let's see what happens. Click on this, click on start. You see my apple starts falling, it keeps on falling. So after setting this to minus 5, okay, let's affect the speed too. So instead of just having changing it by minus 5 to keep on falling, we want it to fall by an arithmetic operation that has to do with the speed, such that as the speed keeps increasing, the gravity or the speed at which it's falling keeps on increasing too. So what I'm going to do is to go to operators, and I'll drag the minus operator, the subtraction operator. So I'll place this inside here, and I'm going to do minus 5 minus, I don't think I dragged minus operator. Let's see, drag this out. This is my minus operator instead. Okay, so I'm going to have minus 5, and over here I'm going to have my speed. How I'm going to do it is I'm going to set the speed to keep on adding by a negative value. So for example, if the speed has increased to minus 1, I'll now do minus 5 minus 1, which is going to do, sorry, the speed is going to be increasing by a positive number. So if my speed got to 1, if I do minus 5 minus 1, it's going to give me minus 6, which is the speed at which is falling has increased. Okay, as the speed is increasing, we are going to now test as the apple is falling freely when we click the play. As it touches the floor level or the ground level, we want to broadcast game over, which is going to call our game over screen. So I'm going to check if my Y position is less than, this is 180, we want it around 170. Yeah, something of this nature. So we're going to use 170. Immediately it gets to minus 170, we'll display the game over screen and stop everything that we're doing. So to do that, we are going to use our operator to check when it is less than. So we are going to use the less than operator, and in the first column we are going to do our Y position. That is the position of the apple vertically. So I'm going to scroll down in motion and choose Y position. Place it in the first column and then change the second column to minus 170. All right, when this happens, we want to broadcast a message. So go to event, broadcast game over. Now we don't have game over yet, so I'm going to do new message and say game over. Click OK. So it broadcasts game over. And for this to show, we want the game over screen to pop up when it receives the broadcast message game over. Okay, so this is what we're going to do for our game over screen. When the flag is clicked, we don't want it to show. We hide it manually. So by default, it's supposed to be this way, but we don't want it to show. So whenever our green flag is clicked, the first thing we want to take place is to hide. Go to looks, hide this. So drag hide. So let's see. Once I click on this, you see it doesn't display again. Good. Then second of all, we want it to show when it receives the game over broadcast message. So when I receive game over, we want to show this. So I'll go to event, sorry, go to looks and show. So let's click on green flag, it starts. Let's click on play, game over. We're going to have our replay show on this game over screen. So let's do that too. But before that, we also want when we receive start game for the game over not to show, or when we receive replay, which is going to also call the start game. So to do that, I'm going to go to events again and drag when I receive start game. When I receive start game, so change from game over to start game. We want to also hide, so I can easily duplicate from here and fix it here. Good. that's all for our game over. So let's go over to to replay to effect this. We want it to show when the game over is broadcasted. Okay, so we want this to show. By default, we hid it, so it's not supposed to be this way. So the first thing we'll do is to hide it when the game over screen shows. So let's see, it's not even showing this way. So what we are going to do is, once the green flag is clicked, we hide it. So we are going to go to looks and we are going to hide. So once we click on the green flag, it hides. And when we have our game over for it to show. And to do that, we are going to use when I receive game over. When I receive game over, we want to show. Go to looks, show. So, but then let's see this. It's still not showing. What this simply means is behind some other layers, basically the game over sprite. So we need to make it go forward. So to do that, still in looks, we are going to do go forward. Okay, by default it is one layer. Let's click on this. Let's see. It's still not showing. See? Okay, it's showing now when I click 2 times. So let's make this go forward 2 layers by default so that whenever we start play, it shows. Let's position this well. Okay, this is good. So far, so good. When you click on the replay, it should now restart the game. But before that, when the game over screen shows, we should also stop all. I can choose to do this different places. I can do this on my game over. So with this, we have the game over screen showing. Now, the next thing we do is to stop all. So we stop the game from doing every other thing it's doing. So we'll go to control, drag, stop all, place it under when I receive game over. So if we start again, play this, and when we have our game over, everything stops. I'll have the game over. Now, what we need next is to restart our game with a replay or a restart button. So to do that, we already have our replay. Go over to the replay. What we want to do is, by default, we hid it. So let's unhide that, and it's going to just show this way, which is not what we want. So what we want to do is go to events, drag when flag is clicked, and then hide this button whenever the flag is clicked. So go to looks and drag hide. So once we start, it is hidden. Play, we want it to show when we have game over. So what am I going to do? When I receive game over, we want to show. So let's try this out. Click game over, it showed. Wow. Okay, sometimes we are going to have some issues that is going to make this replay not to show depending on your settings. So we need to make it come to this layer. We have different layers. So I'm going to use go forward, then the number of layers you want. Let's say 2. This solves the problem you might have when you do this and you are not seeing it. Go forward 2 layers. It will come up not on the background but on top of the game over sprite. So this is what we'll have for this. And lastly, what we want the replay button to do for us, we want it to start the game all over again. So we're going to do when this button is clicked, when this sprite is clicked. So we're going to do when this sprite is clicked. What do we want to do with it? We are going to ghostly hide it, and then we're also going to broadcast the start game message. So let's broadcast a message first. So we are going to broadcast start game, then we are going to go to control and repeat 10 times the ghost effect. So go to looks, drag, change color effect by 25, change this to ghost and make this 10, then lastly hide. So let's try this out. Click on group flag, click on the play. I'll have our game over. Now when I click on replay, it starts all over again. Good, good. So far so good. We've written the script for our bowl, partly for our apple, our game over, our start, our replay. Let's work on this, because if you look very well, you notice that this is always here even when the game is on. So let's work on the title. So for our title, we are going to hide this once we receive the broadcast message start game, which we are going to do with ghost effect. So I'm going to event, and when I receive, instead of game over, we are going to do start game. When I receive start game, we are going to do repeatedly. Go to control, repeat 10 times, then go to looks, change color effect by 25, change this to, sorry, this is not what I wanted. Change this to 10 and change my color to ghost. Let's start all over. So then we hide. After this, drag my hide. Okay, let's see. So when I start play, it hides it. Okay, replay, it's still hidden. Start all over, we are not seeing it again. So in order to always come back when we do this, we are going to do when flag is clicked. So go to events, drag when flag is clicked so that it will always come back when flag is clicked. We are going to clear all graphics effects. So go to looks, drag, clear graphics effects, and then we show. So with this, once we click on this, it shows, and when we click on play, it hides. Okay, the last part is to make the ball catch the apple. So let's do that by going to our apple, start this game. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to constantly check if the apple is touching the ball. So we are going to go to control, drag my if then, place it under this if then go to sensing, touching mouse pointer, drag touching mouse pointer, put it in the diamond shape of the if then, change this to bow. So if the apple is touching the bow, we now want to score and also increase the speed. So we are going to change the score by 1. So go to variables, drag, change my variable by 1. Let's change that to score. Also drag, change my variable by 1 again. We're going to increase the speed. Here we're going to set the speed just very small, 0.1. So when you keep on getting or catching the apple, the speed gradually increase with 0.1 each time you catch the ball. So now to make it more beautiful and more interesting, we are going to play a sound with each catch. So I'll go to sound and I'll choose start sound chomp, which is the sound of a bite on the apple. We're going to do this, and also we want whenever there was a catch, so instead of just going down, it goes up again to the start position. So we are going to do this particular thing we did here. Go to random position, set y to 180. So go to motion, drag, go to random position, set y to 180. So let's see, click on this, start game, let's catch. Good, it goes back. You see our speed is increasing and our score is also increasing. My system is lagging. Good, the speed is increasing. Yeah, we can see that now. Okay, this is more interesting. Let's purposely fail. Good. All right, the last thing we are going to do is we want the apple to come up somewhere here once the game is over. So to do that, I'm going to do when I receive game over from my event, and I want it to have this particular motion. So I'm going to duplicate this, place this over here, but I don't need the forever aspect. So I'm discarding this, and then also sometime it might get hidden under this layer of game over. So I'll go to looks and make it go forward, instead go forward 2 layers, and that's all for this game. Let's see. So start all over, play game. Good, and that's it. Let's purposely fail this. Good, this is good. And when we click on replay, we'll have our game starting all over again. Good. All right, now to make it a little bit more professional, let's remove the speed. You don't necessarily need to see the speed. So go to variables and uncheck the speed. Good. So we'll have this. All right, this is interesting. All right, that's the end of this game. If you are yet to subscribe to our channel, please do not hesitate to hit the subscription button and turn on the notification button to always get notified whenever we drop a new video. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment on this video what you feel, what you learned, uh, any question you have, and I will attend to that. That's it, guys. See you in the next video.